Hey guys, it's Marco with Luso Overland. I just want to take a second to talk about PolyTuff bushings in a little bit more detail. What you're looking at here is the lower control arm bushings, the front lower control arm bushings, I should say, for a Gen 3 Montero. That's 2001 to 2006. And I just wanted to show you some cool things about this particular part number. This is part number CA5242K. And one of the things that I like, not just about this kit, but all PolyTuff products, is that they come with everything that you need to do the job on the entire vehicle. So if you want to do your lower control arm bushings, this single bag, this single part number comes with everything you need to do the lower control arm bushings on both the left and the right side. You don't need to order two of these, just one. As you can see here, you've got 4 bushings. So that's the front of one lower control arm, that's the rear, and then you use that one and that one on the other side, as well as the inner sleeves. So that's really cool. They're also marked, you can see that, front. And they come with instructions. They come with grease packets. Using the right grease on poly bushings is really important. You need to use a lithium or silicone based grease, but it's cool that PolyTuff gives you grease, so that's one less thing you got to worry about. But let's talk about the bushings real quick. If you've ever pressed out bushings on a Montero, you know that it can be a nightmare. Certain bushings are much worse than others. Particularly, in my experience, the Gen 3 control arm bushings might be the worst because they have, the OEM ones and a lot of aftermarket brands, they have a metal sleeve that completely covers the outside of the bushing. And that metal sleeve then gets pressed into a metal control arm. So you have 2 metal on metal surfaces like this. And what happens over time, that gets seized, that gets rusted together. The control arm has a hole in it, so moisture and water get in through that. And I mean, the last set of upper control arm bushings that I replaced, and those are smaller than these lower control arm ones. They're more like this, as opposed to these beefy ones that go in the rear of the lower control arm. But even with those that are a little bit smaller, they're more like this size. 2 different mechanics couldn't do it with 20-ton press. One of them actually bent the control arm, so then I had to get a control arm from another vehicle, a donor vehicle. Another mechanic couldn't do it. They eventually had to take it to a machine shop. And it's just a real tough job. So one of the things that I like looking at these is that there's no outer metal sleeve. It's just the poly, which I think is really going to eliminate that and make this easier to ever get out if you have to one day. And you can see there's even some grease pockets to help retain the grease here. And then on the inside, it's hard to tell, but there's thousands and thousands, there we go, of pockets of knurling on the inside, because that's where the grease is super important, as where your lever arm is, and these inner bushings go in there, and that's where the arm pivots. And so I'm just really liking the features and attention to quality and detail in this PolyTuff line. We just got them in, you know, time will tell how they do, and we're just getting feedback on installs as these are going out, but so far they're looking really cool.